My name is Dave Luce, and I'm going to be demonstrating the MCS Array Imaging System software, and specifically how we do print proofing. When we're done, we are going to have a print proof electronically that's going to look similar to this, both on the screen here in our software, and then we're going to PDF out this image to a PDF file which the customer will be able to see, and you can use it for electronic sign-offs. So to get started, what we're going to do is start from scratch. I'm going to hit File, New Job, and I'm going to say don't save this information. And this is the way the screen looks basically when you open up our software. It's a document composition engine, and in this little rainbow object mode, I can move the imager heads up and down like I do on the real printer. So what I'm going to do first is actually bring in a scanned image of the envelope that's on this job. And I've put it in a subdirectory called Job 2112, and everything in that subdirectory I'm going to name Job 2112 as a naming convention. And this one is a JPEG, so this is going to be the background. And I'm also going to have a job name 2112, a template name 2112, and a data file name 2112. As you can see, this is a 6x9 envelope that I've brought in, which I had scanned previously. Once I've brought in the image as a background, I want to open up my data file. I go to File, Data File Options. I make sure that it's comma delimited, which is what my file format is in. And I say OK. And then I go to File, and I'm going to go ahead and open up my data file, which, if you notice, is in the same subdirectory, Job 2112, and the name of the data file is 2112.csv. Now remember, I said when you name your name all your files, I recommend that every job have a unique subdirectory off the root directory, and then all the files in that subdirectory should have the same name, so that your workflow is very easy to understand by everybody in your organization. So I'm going to double click on this, and it brings in the data file, and then I click on the object for address block, and then it brings it in all the fields. And a quick hint here, what I usually recommend is you make the first record the field names. As you can see, this is my first record and has the names of all the fields, and then if I scroll through one, you can see a first record. But if I go back here, when I'm setting up my data file, I can pull this to the side, and I notice that the first 3 fields up there have nothing to do with the address block, so I'll take those out. And then my bottom 2 fields are not being used for address block, actually 3 fields. And then I'll use the typical address block information, and there you go, and it's starting to look like an address block. And I'll put it down there, and I'll scroll, and voila, my address block. Once I have my address block set, I'm going to go ahead and bring in my barcode, the postal barcode. So I bring that in, I tell it it's actually field 1, so I double click on that. And if you notice in our software, you have multiple settings for your PostNet barcodes, thicknesses, and the number of bars per inch. This is very useful, especially with recycled stock, recycled paper, or glossy stocks, where you might have a problem with the ink, or the ink spreads a little bit because of recycled paper. So all that's within the postal specs and is well within your realm of what you can do adjustments and still be in postal specs. Here's another feature that we like to use, and that's called docking. And what this does is it links the 2 objects together, so that when you go down the database, I have it set so the PostNet barcode is stagnant and the address block actually moves. Another nice feature we have is what we call scanning data. If I click on this object, which is an address block, and hit scan data, what it's going to do is go through the entire database and look for the two records, one that's the widest, and if you notice the name of the company here is off the sheet, which is a problem, so we want to fix that. And then the largest height is the other option, which is the same thing if it went off the address of the head, which obviously you'd want to know before the job started instead of after you ran the job. So I would just move this to the left. Once again, scroll through a couple records, make sure it looks okay, and I'd be ready to go. Now I'm going to add a message block on head 2 or head 1 and put it on the top here. And our new this new color object here, this rainbow object here, will allow me to move the heads once again, and I can also change the color on the head. And I'm going to say blue here, and this is just for print proofing and setting up the job purposes. This would not change the color in the actual machine, obviously. And I'll just say, hey, put the first name in there, see you at the show. And I'll pick a font that looks like it's handwritten. I think there's a comic font in here that's pretty, looks like a little bit like handwriting. So I'll hit that. If you notice when I drag it on that head, it becomes blue, which is real nice. So now what I'm going to want to do is move this down to where the address block area is, obviously. And I might even want to move this head down here as well. And this is going to be exactly like the operators are going to want to set it up for. So it's a great reference for the operators to show them this. The way we're setting it up in this software, I can be setting this up in BP, and on the network we can just copy the files as long as it uses the same subdirectory, and when they open it up on the machine out on the floor, this will come up exactly the way you see it, which is ideal for quality. Once I'm happy with the way it looks on my screen in data processing, what I'm going to do is edit, print proof, and the print proof allows us to output what you see in this template as a PDF. So what I'm going to do is pick the options I want, and if you notice here, it's like current template, or I can specify a range of records, which I'll do that here. And that's pretty good for quality control. If you have 5 dupe or 5 seed records in the beginning, you can actually PDF those to the customer, and it would be a good example of the range of records you're going to see in the output. So you can embed that into your quality control procedure real easy. And what I'm going to do is hit landscape, because a 6x9 envelope will only fit on a 8.5x11 piece of paper as landscape. So at this point I hit OK, and it will output a PDF for me, which I am once again going to name it the same job number. This is the PDF file viewed in Acrobat, Adobe Acrobat Professional. So this is the output of what we just did in the print proof as a PDF file, and as you'll notice, the first record is my field descriptions, and if I scroll through this, the second record is the first record in the database, second record, third record, and so on. And you'll see that the image looks just like the envelope does. So this is electronic print proof. It's not an actual scanned-in envelope, but it's the electronic data overlapped onto the scan of the envelope. So this is a great representation for sign-off for the customer. And as you can see in my last page, I have a description of the job, and what I've done here is embedded a Acrobat sticky note, which allows me to correspond to the customer, and this information will be embedded into the PDF file. So I can email it to them, they can comment it back to me, we can see the progression of comments, and we'll have a paper trail for the interaction. Now at the end of that process, I can print this out on a desktop printer in my DP department and hand it stapled to the job jacket, and now I have a quality control output that's great because it shows me the actual form, what it looks like, the placement of the data, the color of the ink, and what it should look like when they set it up out on the floor. And that's the MCS Array Imaging Systems print proofing options.